Hey y'all, welcome to Life on Helton Creek. My name's Darcy.
I'm Pa.
And today we're going to talk about tractor trouble and diagnosing
Yep.
tractor trouble.
Yep.
Started out, did great, spraying, fertilizing, everything. The first couple of loads you went to spray fertilize, everything was good, running like a top. And then we went to load some hay for a friend of ours right here.
Yep.
And
Well, we started bringing some hay out from underneath for a neighbor that was coming after some, and it started kind of choking down, bogging down like it was out of fuel. It would run fine, and then all of a sudden it just start stammering and sputtering and choking down and everything. So I thought, well, it's less than a quarter of a tank. Maybe the fuel gauge is off or something. So I went over and topped the fuel off and messed with it, and it finally picked up and started running right. And we got the neighbor loaded out and everything. And then the following week was filter madness at Auto Parts. So that's what I call their 50% off all filter sale. So.
At Alexandria Auto Parts, Parts City.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, got the shirt.
There you go. Shout out Chris and Brad.
I went and bought filters for everything that we've got. 3 tractors, backhoe, side by side. But anyway, I got back and I changed the oil in the tractor in this 8200. This is a Kubota M8200. It's our chore tractor. So this is what we do 90% of what we do with. And so I changed the oil, changed fuel filters. Thought, well, if it's got a little bit of trash in it, or if the fuel gelled up over the winter when we had those sub-freezing deals, it would take care of it. And ran like a top. And so I started fertilizing, and I hauled the tractor over to the Goose Creek fields, and then went and got the fertilized buggy and spread about 60 acres of fertilizer over there, and spread all day on a Monday, and everything ran just perfect. And I got up to Uncle Jerry's field, and got about 10 acres of the 20 spread, and I got over on the hillside and got to bouncing around a little bit, and it got to bogging down again. It choked down. I'd let it sit there and run a minute, and it'd pick back up and be happy, and then it'd start bogging down again. And I fought it for about 4 more acres, and then finally gave up, moved the GPS over to the 986, and finished fertilizing with the 986. So I left it over there, this tractor, over there until I got time to work on this tractor, and decided I'd drive it home. Well, I made it about 3/4 of the way home, and it started bogging down and quitting again, So anyway, long story short, I got it home, and I pulled the water separator housing off, and got to looking, and had a little trash in it, and that is what's left of a dirt dauber cocoon. Okay, so this is the 2 pieces of the shell, and the middle is the actual egg or whatever. So, and dirt daubers they're just notorious for getting into little nooks and crannies. And this thing's got a vent tube on both tanks. It's got saddle tanks, and it's got vent tubes on both tanks that let the fuel equalize in them, because it's got a little pipe that goes between them right under the transmission that levels them out. So every once in a while a dirt dauber would fill up the end of that thing, and the fuel gauge wouldn't read right, or it didn't take fuel right, or something like that. So anyway, I pulled the separator housing off, and I found that in the inlet. So apparently it would run and start sucking that thing up, and it would restrict the fuel like it was running out. And then it would clear itself off and run for a little while. So I got that out. And I thought, well, that's a good deal, you know. So I put the separator housing back on in the screen, and
Not sure that was it.
like to never got it to prime up. So I worked on this and I worked on that, and I tried to prime it, and I tried some old school methods that I won't say out loud because they're probably not approved. But
Probably not going to be taught in the farm safety class.
Yeah.
Except for the bad example part.
So anyway, you know, I worked and this thing, it's got a water separator that is between the tank and the lift pump, and then from the lift pump it goes to a straight up cartridge filter for the fuel filter, and then that goes to the injector pump. And so it's got a little plunger pump on the top of the filter housing, so you're supposed to be able to prime the fuel up through it, because the lift pump's a little bitty fella. We'll show it to you in a minute. And yeah, I mean, it's not getting, you know, 20 psi, 40 psi, anything like that. So it's having to struggle to push that fuel through the whole system. So it's got this pump, and I've pumped and pumped and pumped, and I've had this tractor, what, 10 years, 12 years, something like that. And every time I change the filters, it's the same thing. It's just a nightmare. And I researched and you know, never really came across anything. But I'm sitting here doing the research, trying to figure out this fuel problem. And so I'm thinking maybe the lift pump's bad, and thinking this, thinking that, and so I just keep working on it. I took the banjo fitting off the side of the injector pump to see if it would pump fuel, and it did. And so I finally got it primed, and it was running pretty good, and I shut it off, and I'm happy. And then I go back out there the next day, and it lost prime. It wouldn't start for anything in the world. So I just kept on. And I got to reading on one of the forums about somebody that had a similar problem. They was talking about what to do to fix it. And then somebody said, you know, somebody had mentioned something in a post about a bleeder valve. And I'm thinking, I wonder what they're talking about. And they was talking about some check valves in a couple of places to keep the fuel from draining down. So not long after I bought the tractor, I bought a service manual.
Imagine that.
And so I thought, well, I'm gonna look it up in the service manual and see, you know, where these check valves are or something, you know, see what to look for. And lo and behold, it had a whole section on how to prime the filter when you change it. And so
Imagine that,
you know, all else fails, read the manual. But so this thing has got a bleeder valve on the front of the injector pump, and the idea is to open that bleeder valve and then pump the primer pump on top of the filter housing to pull the fuel through and push the air out. And then it says to open it up full throttle and then back it off half and start it and let it run 2 or 3 minutes with that bleeder valve open, and then close the bleeder valve, and everything's well and good. So I did that, and it's ran like a sewing machine ever since. And so I thought, well, you know, all the searching that I did, I never did see anything about how to prime the fuel system on an M series Kubota tractor. And so I thought, well, this would be a good topic to cover on the channel. So again, this is our chore tractor. We mow hay, rake hay, load hay, feed hay,
unload hay.
Typically we spray with it. I always had the GPS on this tractor, so this is what we sprayed with, this is what we fertilized with, this is just about what we do, all sorts of things. I don't put the bucket on the loader much anymore because we got the backhoe, and so it usually keeps the forks on it. But I used to pull a 566 John Deere baler with it all over hillsides, and it just tugged that thing all over the place. Thank the Lord for four-wheel drive, because I got in some places that it helps hold you back. If you got a tractor and four-wheel drive and you apply the brakes, then the front wheels hold just like the back wheels, and it would hold me on some pretty steep ground that I was baling with that baler. But it it pulled that baler really well. You have to slow down in some bad spots, but I mean, it's just been an outstanding tractor. It came to me with only 700 hours on it, but they were 700 hard hours. It held a hard life before it got to me, and so I tend to kind of tinker with things and baby things, and
it's been an excellent. We've had.
So I put a new muffler on it because the muffler outlet was broke, so the exhaust stack would.
But in 10 or 12 years, we hadn't had to do anything big
No,
to it.
nothing but I put a clutch on it, and I put brakes on it, and
that's standard for.
Yeah, that's probably the fact that it was abused so much at the beginning of it. I went to Cleveland, Tennessee to buy it, and the gentleman I bought it from, I got down there, and I pulled a trailer. I had every intention of bringing it back. So I had every intention of buying it if it was what it was advertised to be.
Yeah.
And I got down there, and the first thing he did, he says, well, in the interest of full disclosure, I got to tell you. And he walked over to his garage, and he brought the AC compressor back in his hand, and he said, the air don't work. And I can tell you, the only thing worse than summertime without a cab on your tractor is summertime with a cab that the air don't work.
And that is the truth.
It's terrible.
There's no way to cool it down.
So he knocked a little off the purchase price to compensate for buying a compressor, but he was a little low on his estimation of what it would cost. But it's no big deal.
So let's show them the parts.
So anyway, I had to get the air conditioner fixed on it. The brakes were kind of suspect when I got it, and I've monkeyed with it for 10 years until they just didn't have any brakes. And finally put brakes on it. Had to put a clutch in it when I was baling hay because I was pulling it up and down some pretty steep hills. And I put a set of tour tires on it, so it's just an outstanding little tractor.
It's been a great tractor.
But
I love it.
So we'll walk around and I'll kind of show you
It's very easy for me to drive and operate.
It's got a left-hand shuttle, so it makes the loader work really good.
And I like it. I like to use this tractor. I use my little Mahindra a lot, but I like this tractor if we're out in the field doing something. If I'm helping him, I want this one, and he can have the 986 all day long. I want the Kubota. It's just a little bit easier for me to handle.
Yep.
So
if you look at the grill, the front headlights are busted out, and that's that's because the brakes stopped working, and we bumped into something. So that's what
we did.
Put brakes on it.
We bumped into something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me or Kevin. Okay, so M8200. It's very similar to a M9000. The difference is tire sizes. This tractor has a little bit smaller tire. Just because I bought one, I'll let you know that the rear tires on this tractor are the rarest tires on the face of the earth. There's only about 2 manufacturers that make it. It's a 18428, and you can't get very much. The 9000's got 18430s. You can buy 15 different varieties of those. But the biggest difference is the injector's turned up a little bit on the 9000, and the 9000 has an intercooler for the turbo. So me being me, I found a 9000 on a salvage yard, and I bought the intercooler off of it and had to buy factory hoses, but I put an intercooler on it. So So it's a little bit of difference for the fuel delivery, but otherwise it's dressed out about like a 9000. So here's the fuel filters and everything. Most inconvenient place in the world, Kubota engineers. Back there on the firewall. So you almost just have to take the loader off of it to service it.
It's
but
right there, white with blue writing.
Yep, that's the main filter, and then the water separator is here.
Is where?
Is right there in front of it. Right there's the primer bulb. So you push it down, and that's supposed to pull fuel up and go around. There, right below it, that little glass bowl thing, that's the fuel separator. I mean the water separator, so that goes through there. And then you've got your injector pump. Right there is the bleeder valve. So you open that up, and then you pump and pump and pump on the top of that, and that circulates the fuel everywhere. That's the little lift pump down there, right there. So little bitty fella. But that bleeder valve is right there, and you just twist it open, and then you start pumping. And if you do that, and then you open the throttle up full, then back half and start it, and it'll run. It'll pick right up, and you don't have any trouble trying to figure out how to prime it. One other thing I did is I found another remote valve. I added a remote valve to the back of it so I could have two. One's afloat, and that comes in handy when I'm mowing and stuff, but it only had one valve on it when I bought it.
Where's that?
It's on the back. So this is that thing right there.
And what does it do?
It controls the hydraulic functions on implements. So you plug, if you got two, the hay baler takes two. You've got one that's a hydraulic pickup and one that's the door. The disc mower only uses one. But again, the tractor's been great. It's just very, very reliable. This one little hiccup. We were pulling a Case IH baler, which was really a Heston baler, the first one that we got, and it caught fire. It connected to the tractor kind of funny, so we were very blessed to get the tractor away from it. But we had the monitor cables and everything going through the back glass, and we didn't bother to do anything except pull the pin off the baler and get away from it. And
Exactly.
it broke the latch that holds that glass down. And that was $70. And I tried to fabricate my own to not do that, but I wound up just having to pay it and be done. But everything works on the tractor really well. I put LED lights all over it, and I've upgraded the stereo to Bluetooth. So
Paul likes to jam while he's.
I like my gadgets. So.
He likes to jam while he's running the tractor.
And I put the buddy seat in it.
Oh yeah.
I built the buddy seat because I got grandbabies that want to ride. And,
it's not big enough for.
Yeah, well, it's not really big enough.
It's not big enough for
anything,
me.
It's a homemade buddy seat, but it gets the job done.
And the babies love it, so that's all that matters.
So.
And the big kids enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I just don't fit in it very well. There's his little buddy seat that he made. He even got a little seat belt and everything with it.
So if you're having issues priming the fuel system on an M series Kubota, and you don't know it has a bleeder valve on it, it has a bleeder valve on it.
If you have any questions or comments for Kent, leave them down below. Our email's down below. He'll answer any questions you might have about particulars or details or anything like that. Just use the email address down below in the description, We thank you for watching today. We really hope it helped somebody. We really hope it helped you, and you don't have to search as long as he did for over a week, well over a week. And
Well, it was just as easy as writing down looking in the service manual.
don't tell everybody all your secrets. So thanks so much for joining us today, y'all, at Life on Helton Creek. We hope you are blessed. We hope you find the golden egg. It's almost Easter. And y'all remember, you're never alone.